Hello, good evening, good day, good morning, depending on what part of the world you are. Welcome to another session of AWS DevOps Study Group. Today, with me in the studio is we have Simi, a senior DevOps engineer, cloud engineer working in enterprise company. Simi has done a lot of um, cloud adoption and migration. Yeah, good evening, Simi. And today, we'll be doing a beginner session. So I'll just start with an overview of who we are. We are a group of engineers that come together to um, do open source AWS DevOps study. We have a WhatsApp group. We open to move to Slack sometime in the future. And our WhatsApp group, uh, we're about large number of people, about more than 100 and something. There, we help fresh engineers, mid-level engineers, and senior engineers with production issues. If you are an engineer, you have production issues, you have issues in your learning, you're always welcome to send to the group, and then you get prompt feedback because there are several engineers in that group. So today we'll be talking about introduction to version control using Git. And okay, let me pull up my slide. So version control, as we know, is like the fundamental of software engineering. Like if you're a software engineer, that's why it's a beginner session. If you're a software engineer, you should be conversant with version control. Like in fact, in software development lifecycle, version control is always a core because that is where developers, that is where testers, that is where DevOps engineer come together to collaborate. So today we'll be discussing introduction to version control. This is a beginner session. Wednesday we have beginner sessions for beginners, engineers that are just entering into the field of DevOps. And then Saturday we do advanced session. Saturday you'll be hearing stuff like PromQL, like Prometheus, Query, Latin. Yeah. So today we do basic stuff. So okay. My name is Godtime Obeidi Osemehia. I'm a senior DevOps engineer, working for companies. Let's just leave it like that. So yeah, let's get into this. So I'll be talking about version control, and then I'll be using AWS code commit as a case study. Because we are AWS DevOps study group, we like to show you example of what we talk about in AWS, so that most most companies, most enterprise use AWS because AWS have like about 60 shares of the market. So you'll be interfacing with AWS a lot as a DevOps engineer, and it's one of the cloud platform you should be conversant with. Yes, so let's get into it. So what is version control? Sorry, version control is a system that record changes to file or set of file over time so that you can record specific versions later. Yeah, in Git scm.com, that's Git website. This is like their fundamental basic introduction of version control. It's a system that allows you to in Git say commit um, frequently and probably concurrently in tandem with other engineers. For example, you have a shared repository you are working on, and then in that shared repository you have to like integrate code, you have to make changes to application code till the application code goes live. So what enables that process, that interaction, is version control. So it allows you to keep track of changes made to your code, collaborate with other engineers. And then when you have issues, for example, you just fixed a bug and then made a push, and then you find out that okay, that issue created a more harder issues, you can revert back to your previous version, and it will do that seamlessly. So version control tracks the progress of code across software development lifecycle, and it's multiple iteration, which maintains a record of change. So we'll go to types of version control. So there are various types of version control. No, we have two major types of version control. We have the centralized version control and then distributed version control. So centralized version control, all files are stored in a central server. Like all collaborations happens in a central server. So the code is in one place, then everybody collaborates on that server. So users check your files inside from the server, make changes, and then check the file back in. For example of centralized version control system is Subversion, and then Microsoft Team Foundation. I think Team Foundation is now called Azure DevOps. Yeah. So distributed version control, here each user has a local copy of the entire repository. For example, GitHub is a type of distributed version control. So when you're using GitHub, that's a common example we all understand. When you're using GitHub and then there is a code, you can clone that code to your own local system. That's you. If when you clone that code to your local system, you have your own copy. Then software engineer B can also clone that code to his own local system. So you see that distributed version control in the name distributed, it does not lock you into a central place, central location where all of you have to like collaborate on the code. With this, you can like have your own copy of the code in your system. Then you make your changes and then you make your push when you are done with your changes. So example of distributed version control, like I mentioned, is Git and then Mercurial. There are other types, but Git is like the most popular type of version control. So benefit of using version control, like we've seen from the definition, version control allows teams to work on the same project simultaneously without causing conflict. And here it's be worthy to mention that when you have conflict, version control also allows you to resolve those conflicts. How? For example, I and then Simi are working on a code, probably a CI/CD pipeline, and I pull the code to my local, I create a branch called God's time CI/CD branch feature slash God's time CI/CD, and then Simi creates his own feature slash Simi CI/CD, and then we're working on a code pipeline. So in that pipeline, probably I had on the same line that there was probably deployed to Elastic Beanstalk. Probably I changed the name of that part, and then Simi on his own side too, on that same line, make another change, and then we both push to our respective branches, and then we try to merge to probably the centralized branch, probably the main or master. In some teams, they use development as their default branch. So when we do that push, Because there are conflicts in those files, it will not merge, it will be blocked, and then you have to like resolve those conflicts. So with version control also allows you to have a way of conflict resolution in your code. Yeah, in the sense that, so when those conflicts happens, it now require a manual intervention. Like, okay, two of you that did this thing come together, pull this code, and then say, okay, this is the actual values that should be on those respective lines. That is what version control does. It enhances and enables collaboration. Version control also offers efficiency. Using version control streamlines the development process and reduces the time it takes to complete a project. It allows for faster debugging and testing as well as automated deployment. So, efficiency. With version control, let's assume there is a team of 20 engineers. Probably we have all backend engineers, and then there's these large applications that we need to build. If we don't have version control where we all collaborate to the code, probably somebody is working on a function that logs in login function, somebody is working on a function that retrieve profile, somebody is working on a function that probably access database to retrieve user information. Then another person is working on a payment system, probably somebody is integrating AWS SES, another person is doing SNS. Without version control, you will have to do all that. There will be no way for different engineers to like collaborate on those code. Probably you just pick your own parts and then start writing on a file in your laptop, and then engineer B start writing on another file in their laptop, and then when they are done, they upload the files. Anyway, it's with if you do that, you have breaking issues with your code. Probably there will be so many misalignment, and then when engineer C now carries both code and then probably do some integrations, some changes, there will be serious issue. But with version control, you can just clone my repo and um, create your own branch, make your changes, and then push to the main repo or the master repo, the unified branch that everybody is pushing their changes to. Like that, 20, 30, 100 engineers can work together at the same time on the same code using version control. So you see, without version control, it would have been software development lifecycle would have been actually here. Yeah. Because before, okay, there was the local version control where you probably have to like be making those changes. Like probably you create a folder for probably let's say DevOps study group application, and then in that folder you now create different files for what you want to do, probably subfolders, and then just start changing files like that. If it was like that, there would have been probably it take like 1 year to probably do a working application code. So managing and protecting source code. Yeah, version control system helps manage the source code for the software team by keeping track of all the code modification. It also protects the source code from any unintended human error and consequences. Like for example, you probably yeah, that's where rollback comes in. You can rebase to your former branch. You can revert your changes. Yes. So with version control, you can collaborate, you can have efficiency, you can get protected code. And without version control too, you can also do code integration and then code security, because some version control have webhooks you can attach, do some code security with probably Sonar scan. I wonder how you probably, without version control, how we'll be doing DevSecOps with SonarQube, probably do OWASP integration for dynamic security scan. Yeah, so one of the most popular type of version control is Git. Git is a distributed version control system that allows multiple developers to work on the same code base and keep track of changes over time. It was created by Torvalds in 2005 and has become one of the most widely used version control system in the world. Yeah, because today, if anybody mentions version control, the first thing that comes to your head is Git. Whether you're a senior, mid-level, or a junior engineer, the first thing that comes to your head is Git. Git is so wide, so popular that sometimes we mistake Git as probably say, what is version control? And you say Git. Yes, Git is a type of. There are two type of version control, like we have established. There is the centralized and the distributed. Sorry, there is the centralized and distributed. So in the centralized, we have subversion, and in distributed, we have Git. So when people are saying, okay, now next time when you are asked what are the type of version control, don't say Git. Type of version control is distributed and centralized, and then Git is now a example of distributed version control. And then Git was developed by Torvalds in 2005. So yes, that's major beginner friendly information about version control. So for Git based version control, there are so many types of Git based version control. We have GitHub, we have GitLab, we have Bitbucket. Bitbucket is a type of Git based version control, and then we have AWS Code Commit. AWS Code Commit is a fully managed Git based version control. It allows companies to, it can be individual depending on what you want, to manage their code and then host it in a secure repository. So AWS code commit is like GitHub, but unlike GitHub, with code commit, you need actually have to like, yeah, like GitHub. If you want to have a GitHub repository, you need a GitHub account, and then you create your profile, create your repository. Same with code commit, but the only part that is different from code commit, like GitHub, if you want to have access to repository, if it's a private repository, you probably need to be added to the organization, and then create your probably SSH keys to pull, or via HTTPS using your password. It can be classic credentials, or yeah. But with AWS code commit, you use, if you are familiar with AWS, if you are an AWS engineer, you will know that the concept of IAM is prevalent in anything that happens in AWS. Like for you to be able to access any services in AWS, you have to have the proper permission. And best practice is you implement least privilege. Like for example, if it's code commit that this user need to have access to, probably you just hired software engineers, and then you are using code commit as a shared repository, or the only access you give your software engineer is code commit access, probably to write, to code commit, and to read. So yes, code commit eliminates the need to operate your own source control system or worry about scaling its infrastructure. It integrates seamlessly with other AWS services, making it a great option for companies already using AWS. So AWS code commit is like GitHub, but it is AWS repository for hosting your code. So with code commit, you are assured of security, um, you're assured of scalability, like in some private repos, if you don't pay, like if you're not using enterprise version, you'll not be able to like push some size of code. Yes, but with code commit, you can push any size of code you want. It is scalable and it is secure. So in security, in the sense that you are in control of who has access to it, to your environment, except you give absolute permission to an engineer, and the engineer will not know that your repo exists. Even if the engineer knows your repo exists, that engineer will not be able to clone your code or pull your code, because that engineer will require IAM permission. And to do IAM permission, you just need, so if there's any situation of probably an intrusion into your code commit repository, you will know that if you do issue tracking, it must be that somebody has granted access or somebody has leaked probably your keys, access keys, or secret access keys to the wrong party. Yeah. So today I intend to give us an overview of setting up code commits, and then pulling um, doing a small push of code, so the code commit repository. So setting up code commit repository. To get started with code commit, you will need an AWS account and access to the AWS management console. For example, if you just join a team and your company is using AWS code commit, you first need your IAM permission to be provisioned, and the IAM permission should have probably a code commit full access, code commit read only access, depending on what you want to be doing in the organization repository. So once you are logged in, you can create, once your IAM permissions are sorted, you can create new repository. Okay, I just giving overview by navigating to do this code commit service, and then following prompts to create a new repository. You can then clone to your local machine using Git commands like Git command line tools or Git clients like SourceTree. So like every other repository, you can use Git command tools with code commit. So, if you are using Bitbucket, if you want to clone, it's still Git clone. If you want to push, it's still Git push. If you want to commit, it's still Git commit. So, same with GitHub. If you are using GitHub, it's Git push. If you want to clone, it's Git clone. Same command you use with other Git based system is the same command you use with AWS code commits. So I'll jump the next two slides. We'll come back to it, and then I'll just okay. So let's do a brief demo setting up AWS code commits. So I'll be using my AWS account, Cloud9 IDE. I like to use Cloud9 IDE. Let me share my screen. Yeah, so this is my AWS account. See me? Am I sharing screen? Let me see.
Yes, please do.
All right. So first of all, if you are following this class, you will need to first set up a Cloud9 ID because I'll be using Cloud9. You can always use your ID of choice. You can use your Visual Studio Code, IntelliJ, anyone. But I like to use Cloud9 because it's giving me seamless interaction with AWS services. I like instance profile. So the first thing you do, you just search Cloud9 on your AWS management console. I've created a Cloud9 instance because sometimes it takes time to like for Cloud9 to spin up completely. So I created a Cloud9 instance how long ago? Like about 1 hour before this session. So to create a Cloud9 environment is very simple. For this lab, the bare minimum setup is okay. You just call it DevOps 9. You can add a description for study group. And then you is institute instance you use. For example, if you have existing instance, you click existing compute and then select it. But we're using new instance. This was how I set up the one that was there. So if you are following along, you can just do this. So after wait on the new instance, so you can pick any instance type, but the one I provision, I'm using a T3 small because it has more capacity than T2 micro. I don't want an issue of environment hanging. Wait, let me go back and load that Cloud9 ID on another browser so that it will not affect. Yeah, so going back here, did I copy that stuff? Cloud9. Then you add a description. Then you come here, select your instance. You can use T2 micro, you can use T3 small. You can choose from Ubuntu or Amazon Linux too. I like Linux too. And then timeout. This timeout is for when your Cloud9 ID is idle, it will shut down on its own. So you can extend the time to 1 day, 1 hour, 4 hours, but it's always good to leave it at 30 minutes so that for 30 minutes, if you don't touch your Cloud9 ID, it should like shut down. That's like to save cost for the Cloud9 instance running. So when with that, the bare minimum setup is okay. I just click create. So after creating your Cloud9 IDE, you will have to add instance profile. So if you go to EC2, if you create your Cloud9 ID, if you go to your EC2, you see that it's spawn up an EC2 instance at the background because Cloud9 is EC2 with some stuff inside. So you see that the instance state is stopped because I um because it had not been active. Yeah, because the Cloud9 ID environment has not been active. So it will go down, then stop the instance to save costs. Yep, my environment. Let me just open that. So yes, so when you come here, you see that the instance is here, and then you click on security, modify IAM. So you will notice that there's when you created the Cloud9 ID, it's on the background, it ran an instance profile for your Cloud9 environment. And then when you go to IAM, you should see um, that instance profile. So the next thing I did was rows is Cloud9. Yeah, you see Cloud9 SSM access role. So I added code commit for access here. So if you want to add more permission, just click attach policy. Then you search the policy you want to add. Let's say you want to add parameter SSM read only. I just took that for the sake of adding a permission. But for you, if you're following us, you are looking for code commit, and to bring it up here. Because I already have code commit for access, is no longer here. If I don't have that policy there to show up here, so you just add permission, and that's it. So the next thing you will be doing is we'll go to code commit. Do I have time? I have time. We'll go to code commit and create a new repository. So yeah, so to navigate to code commit, I'm always using search, but on a norm, you see developers tool. We have code commit here. Yes. Then you click code commit. If you want to like go from services point of view. So AWS have so many services for developer. So Cloud9 that we're using is a developer tool. We have Cloud Share, Code Artifact, Code Build, Amazon Code Catalyst, Code Commit, Code Deploy, Code Pipeline, Code Star, Amazon Code Whisperer. I don't know if you have used Code Whisperer before. It's quite fun. So if you have free tier, you can play with some of these services. But one warning is don't leave services running. And then if you create a new AWS account, you see free tier eligible services. Look at those services, free tier eligible services. Use it to build your hands-on. Leverage the free tier. Go to the services that are free tier. Run it, see how it works. Delete it. Run the other one, see how it works. Delete it. So today we're playing with code commit. Sorry, because I was already on that page. So we'll call our repo name DevOps study software. Then just a description, code for version control introduction. You can add tag. Then you can enable Amazon Code Guru. Amazon Code Guru is does AI kind of thing for your and gives recommendation on your it's on your infrastructure. It's if you are creating a database, you also have this choice of enabling Amazon Code Guru. In fact, for most of AWS, many of AWS services, you can probably enable AWS Code Guru Reviewer for your different code. You see, it has Java and Python capabilities. So let's create this. So we have created a code commit repo. You see, if you after you create a code commit repo, you just see different options to clone your code. You see like Github or other Git-based version control. You have you can clone with HTTP, you can clone with SSH, and then you can clone with HTTPS gRC. I've not used this gRC before, but we'll go with HTTPS. So I'll share my other screen to display the Cloud9 ID environment. Let me see if that has loaded up. Okay, it's still loading. Wait, is okay. Here you are. So yes, let me stop sharing this, and then DevOps study good. So when after you've created your Cloud9 IDE, coming. Sorry about that. So after you've created your Cloud9 IDE, when you click on that open, it will take you to open another browser and open your IDE like this. So this IDE is your your VS Code. What you would do with your VS Code IntelliJ, you can do everything here. So on this ID is running on the Linux machine, so you can like probably it's running on the Linux Amazon Linux 2 machine, and that machine is CentOS. So I think you use Yum instead of your apt for Ubuntu. You see, yeah, if I run Yum update to update the packages, will there be packages here? What did they say? Okay, sudo Yum updates. Let's see. Okay, no more package for update. So let's go. So the first thing you want to do is configure your Git user credentials on your IDE. That's the first thing you want to do. Like you will do on a normal base, even with your. Let me see. Am I still sharing my screen? Yes, I'm sharing my screen. Even with, for example, in your local, when you have your Git system, you want Git to be able to know who is making changes to file, who is interacting with your SVN. So the first thing you need to do is
Hello?
you-
Yeah, that's fine. Your screen is a bit tiny. Can you increase the font for your Cloud9?
okay, thank you. Let me. Is this a tiny? See me, is it better?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay, thank you. So the first thing you want to do is do a git config global. Then you do username git config global username. User the name is I just do JWS. That's my, and then you do git config global user email user.email. Just use my email. Right. Oh, sorry. I not close the quote like this. So, what do we need to do now? I'll copy the what's it called? Code commit repo URL from the code commit repository we just created. So, like your normal GitHub or GitLab, you do Git clone. This is the repo URL. If you noticed, is git dash code commit dot us was2. That's the region our code commit is deployed to our repo. amazon.com/v1 inasi repos. Your repos is DevOps study software. So for GitHub, you know it to be HTTPS, the URL of your GitHub slash your, if you have organization, if you are a sole contributor, you see slash your name, probably Jirobez slash the repo. So you see, since we have the right permission, we are able to clone this repository. I would have done. Let me remove that permission. Let me delete this. Ls. Let me just show you something. Remove dash arrow this. So I've removed that. I've deleted the repository I just cloned. So I want to do something. I know you cannot see, but what I'm doing is on that IAM page, I'm removing the code commit permission. Let me share that screen so that we all flow along. So that we understand what I'm talking about for the security. So I'm going to IAM. And roles, I want to, it's Cloud9 SSM. I want to remove this permission a bit. Code commit for access remove. Right. So let's go back to our Cloud9. ID. So we're here. So let's clone that repo again. You see what happens. Oh, it cloned. Did I? Oh, sorry, there's still another permission. Okay. Oh, the Cloud9 instance permission allows for code commit. All right. But so if I remove that permission now, we have issues with this place. So I've cloned the repo. Let's do some integration. So I have a README here, and this README is when you create a Cloud9 ID, it comes with this README, like some basic instruction and then some links to documentations. So let's copy this README into that Cloud9, into the AWS code commit repo. So we do copy this into this. All right, it's a venter. So let's cd into. So if you can see, we are on the master branch of the repo we just created. So if I do ls, there is this readme inside. Let me create another file. Touch src, cd inside src. Let me do. Oh, sorry, I created a file. memkdr. no problem. Let me use another name. Okay, we have srci, and then another folder, DevOps, then another folder, study. Now, because this is a Git-based repository, all Git commands work here. So since we have created these files, let's branch out to another branch. Let me call it dev git checkout. Dev. So we've created a dev branch and then switch to it. So the next thing is to those files and folders we created, we add them, then we commit git commit, that's with the message like you will do your normal git based version control, and then do what did we do? Added readme and folders. Now we have done this. Let's push git push set origin set upstream dev. Is that it? Ref upstream does not match. Oh, let me just, this is how I do it. I do git push and then give me the command. Good. Git push. Oh, what did I miss? Oh, I saw what I did there. So you see, git push also worked, and then we've been able to push this new code change to our repository clear. Let me show you that on the next screen. Where is it? Let's secure. Let's do developers tool. Let me know if following shortcuts. Shortcuts is quite beautiful, you know. You don't have to like do all the plenty drama. You just go straight to the point. So when you open the repository, you will notice that the folders we created is here. So like this, you can clone this repo and start making changes to this application code when I add you to this organization. So if you are using your VS Code, what you do instead of creating an instance profile, you will create an IAM user that will give you secret access key and secret access key. Just create the user, create user, DevOps, VS Code. I don't want to provide management control access. Attach policy directly. You search code commits like we did. Added code commit for access, and then you give it code commit for access. If it's read only, you give it read only. If you want the person to have power user, you can actually open the policy and then see what the policy does. Like this is what power user policy does, and then if you open full access, you see full access, it does a lot of stuff too. So I think that is the demo for code commit, for Git based version control using code commit. So in conclusion, version control is crucial to any software development um, lifecycle. By using version control, you can keep track of changes to your code base, collaborate with your team members more effectively, and then ensure that everyone is working with the most up-to-date version of your code. You don't want somebody to be using development code in production. So with version control, you can say, okay, this is dev. All development changes are made to dev, and when your branch is mature and then the code quality has been reached, you can now say, okay, well, I'm pushing this dev code to main, and then probably or master or a production branch, you name production or whatever you want to name it, and then it's that branch that gets deployed to your production environment, your live application. So Git is one of the most popular version control system available today. And AWS Code Commit is a powerful Git-based service that can help streamline your development workflow even further. In our case study, we just saw firsthand how Code Commit improve our workflow by providing centralized repository for our code, making it easier to collaborate with team and automating many of the tasks used to be done manually. So yes, so if you are not familiar with version control, this is just a brief introduction to version control, and then we I went further to show you how to use AWS code commits. I know majority of us here would be very familiar with GitHub, GitLab, um, Bitbucket, which other one? There's this one I saw, Z Mervit. Yeah, and I used that, but I just saw it, and then it was looking weird. So yes, we are familiar with that, but I just went further to show you how you can also use AWS Code Commit as a version control, Git-based version control system. So yes, that is the end of our presentation. Thank you. So we can take questions now. Let me check the chat. Okay, is there any question? Is there any question? If you have questions, please do drop them in the chat. Has Git started accepting HTTPS in push operations? This question is not clear. But if you mean, like you saw, let me go back to that Cloud9 ID again. Like you saw, we used HTTPS push. You see, when we clone the branch, when we clone the repo, it was HTTPS where you yes, is HTTPS. So I mean, if you have cloned this to your system, where you are pushing to is HTTPS push. So I don't know if that answered your question, but if it does, if it did, just write on the chat. But yes, there's HTTPS push, pull, there's SSH, and then for code commit, there's HTTPS GRC. Yeah. Is there any more question we can take? We have like 6 minutes to go. God's will, if we did not answer your question, if you're on the WhatsApp group, just signify, and then we'll give more context to the question you're asking. So we are on WhatsApp. I'll just drop the WhatsApp link on this channel. Let me see if I can get the link. So that if you're here, you can join the WhatsApp group for um for further learning. Like if you have questions, if you have um if you have concerns, if you have needs, like professional needs. Not if you are working and then you encounter a blocker, probably something is not working, one of your code is not working, you can reach you can just drop up a message on the channel, and everybody be there to answer you. So that will be all for today. If there are further questions, please reach out to us on WhatsApp. Thank you for joining us today. So, if is there any other question? Is there any other question?
I think that's all. That's all.
Okay. All right, guys. Thank you for joining today's session. Simi, thank you for joining me in the studio. It was a nice time with us. So we're ending the stream right now. Have a wonderful night rest.